So I've been using Linux for more than 6 months. Now 6 months is half a year. Maybe more I used it, but I'm sure that it's no less than 6 months. Now half a year is more than enough to know an operating system, to experience it, to have its benefits used, to discover its flaws, and I'm here to tell you that Linux desktop is not ready for the average consumer. Now before you rage and type that I don't know anything, I'm a fanboy of this or that, I have a gaming PC, Windows 10, I have a Mac OS, and I tried Linux. Now my experience with Linux did not start 2024 or 2023 if to be exact. It started before. I used Ubuntu a few times, I used Fedora, Slacks, I downloaded a lot of live CDs, I played with them, and that was about it. But I seriously started using Linux on a separate hard disk in December 2023. I installed it on its own hard disk, dual booted it with Windows 10, and made a challenge to use Linux as much as possible to overcome the limitations and whatnot. And as opposite to many people, my main problem is not software, although that's a big issue. And no, I'm not talking about Microsoft Office. Contrary to the popular belief, there are way better alternatives for Microsoft Office. We have LibreOffice and the better one, OnlyOffice, which can, and any task that you do in Microsoft Office can be done 99% in OnlyOffice. And even LibreOffice is good, OpenOffice is there, and a few more if I'm not mistaken. So in that category, I'm covered. I've been editing my Excel sheets, whatnot, although I'm not technical in Excel and I didn't use the more advanced features, so that may have something to do with it, but general idea, it passed. All my things passed and I was able to do my job, which wasn't that much to be honest. Calculate few sheets here and there. The second category is video editing, and video editing is great on Linux. Now a lot of people say that professional software is not there, and DaVinci Resolve, the biggest one, or not biggest one, the best one for professional work as it's used by Hollywood studios and whatnot, is there for Linux. Now I personally did not use it because I don't need that much advanced features, so I use KDE and Live Olive and my favorite, Shotcuts. Shotcut is the best for me. I even used it on Windows and on Linux. It does what I need. The UI, the way you cut videos and whatnot, the shortcuts, it's best for me. On Windows I used Filmora, which a lot of people hate, and the company is shady, but the software itself is great for fast and even medium work. You use transition, whatnot. Yes, Shotcut is great, but it's not as flexible or fast as Filmora or other editors. I use Final Cut on Mac, iMovie. Shotcut can do everything, almost everything that I personally need, and I'm not that, once again, not that advanced, but I do use here and there stuff, advanced stuff, like many videos and syncing audios, different cameras. I was able to do it in Shotcut with, I won't say no problem, but it's less speed than on Windows paid apps. And sadly there is a huge issue. Linux, as far as I know, most video editors on Linux, apart from the paid studio version of Resolve, do not support H.264, which is comical since a lot of phones, almost all phones, cameras shoot 264. My DSLR shoot MOV, but a lot of cameras use the compressed codec. And I know there are reasons because it's not licensed, whatnot, but this is a minus for Linux as a whole. The average user who edit videos using their phone do not care. The strange thing is that GoPro footage was supposed to be compressed codec, works fine on Linux, at least in Shotcut. KDE, I used it a few times, but I just didn't like how it handles files and saving, whatnot. A bit complicated. Not complicated that I don't know, but I like simplicity. I'm at a point at my life that I like simplicity and don't want to waste a lot of time configuring whatnot, which brings us to the next point, which is gaming. I tried to play two games, one retro game which was Need for Speed Underground 2. I followed all the steps, I saw a few tutorials, and the second CD just won't be detected for no reason. I tried and just gave up. The second game was newly Resident Evil 4 remake, which now is more than a year. It launched fine but keeps crashing. I followed once again the tutorials. There is one step I did not do, which is lower or cap the frames at 60, but it did not work out of box even with Steam's Proton. So that's two games. I did finish Portal 2 fine on Linux because it was configured on Linux by Valve, and Valve is a huge supporter of Linux, but I'm talking about non-Valve games. And your experience may vary. People have luck running games, some people don't, and a lot of games don't work fine, especially the DRM protected games, like for example Gears of War Online. Although I saw people play it on YouTube, I'm not sure, saw videos, but the general idea is that those games will not run fine on Linux. So gaming sadly is still Windows 10 by far, especially if you want to play retro games, old games with CDs. I'm a collector, I play retro games, so Windows 10 it is. The final point I want to bring, and that's the important one that made me rage many times to almost quit Linux, curse it, curse the community, which is the stability. The community, in short, or most of the community, keeps saying that it's a replacement for Windows. If you have an old laptop and whatnot, old people especially, just put Linux and the computer or laptop will be as new. That's a lie. I'm sorry. I myself tested it for family members, put Linux, Ubuntu, which is supposed to be stable. I know that people are cursing it, whatnot, but it's supposed to be one of the stable ones. I put it on a family laptop and problem after problem. Lost Wi-Fi, instability. I put on my old Mac 2008 MacBook Pro, I put Linux Mint on it, and I had bugs like unable to copy getting stuck, and I saw videos, or sorry, text posts of a lot of people on forums having the same issue, and there is always excuses because this is because that. That is not the average user's problem. And speaking about me personally, with my desktop PC, I had unthinkable problems I could not imagine that an operating system in 2024 have. And I'm talking about Linux Mint, Cinnamon. First I had it for around 6 months, like I said. Problem after problem. Every time I turn the PC, I pray that I'll be able to do my work peacefully. Lost my GUI 2 times, had to restore it using command line, and of course if you go online there are 10 posts, 20 posts, 30 posts about how to fix it, each given its own way. Checking GitHub, downloading random scripts, whatnot. You don't know what you're doing, because anytime anything happens you need to use the command line, which once again is not the way to go in my opinion for the average user. And the people are always complaining, the Linux community, why the average user is not using it, because using the command line is outdated. I'm sorry, if it works for you, fine and great. Normal people, we humans are visual people. We want to see GUI, we want to see nice looking programs. I'm not saying make fancy programs with huge RAM eating resources. I'm talking about basic ones that people can use. And there are a lot great GUI Linux programs, don't get me wrong, but there are command line only. Like for example, Video2X. I know that you can run it in Docker, but there are no native one Linux GUI, and I know that's not Linux fault, but that's an example. A lot of programs are command line, and you need to know the command line to fix the system, configure it and whatnot if something happens. Now back to the problems. I had GUI crashing, had my Windows freeze for no reason. Every time it goes to sleep it freezes, corrupt files, and a lot of problems I don't even recall now because I had so many of them. It's unthinkable. I don't know why this is happening. Now Linux Mint is supposed to be stable one. I finally rage quit deleted the Cinnamon one, went to Ubuntu Mate and did not like it. The store had missing apps. I know I can download them and whatnot, but I like ready-made stuff. So I re-downloaded Linux Mint Mate this time and hope that it's more stable than Cinnamon. I found alternative software to be just as good many times, but sometimes you just cannot live without professional software or even proprietary software, which brings us to another problem. I know that this was supposed to be the final one. This another problem: Linux users' mentality that proprietary paid software is the devil and we should not use it. I'm sorry, but there is limit to what open source software can do. A lot of software, proprietary ones, do stuff, especially AI stuff and even complicated stuff, that simply the free ones cannot do. And the whole idea that users should not be, or developers should not be compensated, is ridiculous, that everything should be free. This mentality pushes app developers from the operating system, which in turn makes people not use it. If you want to use open source free software, do so, but have an open mind for others. For example, CapCut. I know that it collects data and it's Chinese spyware and whatnot, but it makes video editing easy. People will be against it and there is no equivalent, or itself the software is not on Linux. And this is just one example. There are many software like this which is not on Linux because Linux people hate it and will not buy it, and they're against it openly, pushing it away. Having great free software is amazing, and I thank the developers for hundreds of hours they put in, but there will be a limit, and not every developer will keep doing this out of kindness of their hearts, and it's not even sustainable. That's why it's a hobbyist operating system for now, despite the amazing progress which a lot of Linux companies, it's amazing that despite Linux community being against proprietary companies, a lot of them are based on Ubuntu, which is backed by organization. Another popular one is Pop! OS, which is also backed by organization, and OpenSUSE. So the Linux itself, some of it is maintained by organization. I know it's open source and whatnot, but you need to have organizations behind it to make money, to push things further. Imagine Linux will be much bigger than it is now if Linux community changed its mind and opened all kind of software. And I know that you will say developers don't want to develop it because they know the mentality, no one will buy it. Adobe, for example, I myself am not Adobe user, but that's an example. Video upscaling, back to this video upscaling example, the ones that are available are nowhere near the quality of Topaz, which is top app, and there's supposed to be Linux beta somewhere I read. That's an example. A paid proprietary software does much better job than open source. They want journaling, for example. Another example, there are many examples. Gaming in general. A lot of developers are afraid to port their games because they think people will not buy them, or they need to run anti-cheat, which I'm against DRM, don't get me wrong, but that's big part of the problem. And I wanted to say a lot of stuff, but I'm forgetting now because I don't script my videos. I just speak my mind. Linux community is to blame for a lot of stuff that's going on. And what boils my blood is a lot of people will say, well, the reason Linux is not popular because people don't want to learn new operating system. I'm sorry, if that's the case, then Mac will not be popular. It's actually growing. People have no problem using Mac because it's easy and it's Unix based. So because of its stability, good software, both free and proprietary, it's popular. The hardware is solid, the software is solid, and I know Apple makes bad choices and I'm not an Apple fan, but it works. Linux, on the other hand, unimaginable problems, comical problems, basic problems. Even if you don't modify or install anything, there is no guarantee that an OS update will not spoil anything, or you simply lose your GUI for no reason after rebooting the computer. Happened to me, and this is not just my case. On forums, videos, a lot of people, this is happening to them. All sorts of problems, losing Wi-Fi, losing internet, and that's once again partly to blame for drivers, but the operating system itself, like using your GUI, is not due to drivers. I'm sorry. So this is my thoughts in my personal experience using Linux, a lot of people try Linux, find it, oh nice, shiny new desktop, looks amazing, but after a while give up and move back because, yeah, Windows is popular for a reason, not because it comes installed. Windows is great operating system. Ignore Microsoft data collection and security risks. I'm talking about an operating itself. Programs works, easy to use, easy to install. Now, why am I myself still using Linux, still booting with Windows despite me talking all of this against them? Windows 11, Windows 12. The new Copilot and Microsoft collecting literally what's on your screen will have to push me and a lot of people to Linux and macOS. I'll be dual booting both. Linux for gaming, the games that are not on macOS, because gaming on Mac is ridiculous and my gaming PC will not go to waste, and doing stuff that my Mac can't do, because I will not be upgrading to Windows 11, Windows 12 unless they do drastic changes to remove data collection and this Copilot capturing your screen. A lot of people are voicing concerns. I will not go back unless there are guarantees that this will go away, and maybe with enough outcry it will. So a lot of people will be forced to choose, and a lot of people will choose macOS because yes, it's more stable, apps you feel like home, and yeah, it's a great operating system. I like to experiment, I use both, and a lot of people will have to do or make a choice, but the majority sadly will continue with Windows collecting their data. They don't know or don't care. So yeah, this was my mini rant, update, whatever you want to call it. That's an honest one. I really wanted to love Linux and say it's perfect, replace my other operating system and I will not go back, but that's not the case. And I'm an average user. It's not that I'm doing something that is not replaceable. And a lot of people share my problems or issues, so I'm not the only one. Anyway, thank you for watching. If you're watching till now, let me know in the comment section what you think, and I'll talk to you in my next video. By the way, I'm editing this on Linux Shortcut. Thank you, developer, and thank you for all the amazing open source community for what they do. I just wish that they would take criticism better, actually listen to people and drop this "we are right, you're stupid" mentality, which a lot of them have. Not all, but a lot of them. That's a topic for another video. I also have something to say about that. My personal experience as well. I'm not making stuff up or reading. Anyway, once again, thank you very much, and I'll talk to you in my next video.